Welcome, everyone. Good boy, Tucker. This is learning at its most fun.
Welcome, everybody. I have Maureen Wilke with me. We are going to have a two-part series this time. So this is going to be an interesting next two-part series. So this first series, we are going to be talking a bunch of strategy, and the next session will be a bunch of implementation. So it's really a way to kind of give you what you need instead of just kind of talking about abstract thoughts. We want to give you some actual items to work with this series. So thank you so much, Maureen, for being here with me. I'll let Maureen tell you a little bit more about herself and what she has prepared for today, and then we'll go ahead and get started.
Perfect. Thank you and welcome, everybody. So excited to be back with doing a Redtail series again. Some of you may remember I've done several in the past, and it's been great working with Nora. I'm Maureen Wilke. I'm president of Wilke & Associates and also the Connected Advisor. And what I really try to accomplish with all the programs that we do is we give you the how to do it. So as Nora shared, we broke this up into two parts so we didn't just throw everything at you at one time. We're going to do a session today and then a session in July. And then there will be time for you to look at how to implement it. We'll also have a guest advisor next month joining us. So I think you'll find that the strategies will give you the how to. And it's interesting because when Nora and I were really setting these topics, it was, I think, late last year or the beginning of this year. And a lot has changed, obviously, with the markets. And we know how busy you are with clients. So what we're going to do is keep this really concise. And then we'll have the templates if you'd like. We'll send those out afterwards. But the main thing is now more than ever, it's the time to be connecting with your clients. And that's exactly what the Connected Advisor is. It's not about knowing your clients. It's about connecting with them, connecting with the spouse, the partner, and the family. And those are the summer client acquisition strategies. So let me walk you through it. First of all, if you haven't seen it, the Cerulli report came out. It was an investment news, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago. 84.4 trillion is going to be changing hands over the next 2 decades, mostly from the baby boomers to the next generation. So part of the summer client acquisition strategy is going to be making sure you're connected to not just the client, but the spouse or partner and the children. And then specific things you can do to lock them in as clients or get to know you. And then more importantly, to start systematizing and gaining referrals. Summer is a great time to be talking to clients. And what I find is advisors just are looking for ideas. Like, what can I do, Maureen? What is your team doing with other financial advisors this summer? So what I did and Nora and I worked on, is to put together several best practices and specific ideas that you can be doing that are easy to implement and don't cost a lot of money. So let's get started.
Yeah, because that 84 million, you don't want to wake up one day and see your AUM adjusted by that.
Exactly.
So you might as well start addressing it now. Get to know these people. Who are they? Are they impulsive? Are they not impulsive? What do they like to do? So you can kind of figure out, are they advisable by your team? Because you want to make sure it's a good fit as well.
That is a great point. And the other thing is, Nora, what I always do is everything that we talk about. So it's not an outside program. Everything that we're doing today and in July integrates in with Redtail. So it fits in with your client communications, some of the newsletters you do. It fits in with events or workshops that you're doing. So you'll see this all is very integrated with the Redtail workflows. And I think that's critical. This is easy to implement for all of you. So, and also June is Effective Communications Month. I don't know if you knew that. I felt like that couldn't have been better timing. Actually, someone left it on their voicemail to me. And this is a chance to just take a pause, even if it's for 2 hours, and think about the ideas we're going to share and what can you implement. And then we'll pick up again in July with building onto that and reinforcing it. So with that said, our strategies for client acquisition, everything that the Connected Advisor does is around what I call the 3 R's: retaining your top clients and increasing your share of wallet with them. It may also be migrating some of your middle to lower tier clients to become your top clients, figuring out, are they the right fit for that? Gaining referrals. I really am a firm believer in you have to have systemized referrals. You can't wait for your clients and COIs, centers of influence, to provide them to you. We'll put a proactive approach in place. And I'm actually doing boot camps now with teams of RIAs, that it's a 60-day boot camp, so that they've got the set process in place and it just lives on. It's not a one-time strategy. And then tracking future rollovers. There is just trillions that are going to be rolling over in 401k plans, and making sure that your clients know that you are the one that they should be rolling with. And more importantly, if they have friends or family, they should be referring them to you. As we all know, the record keepers are doing extensive marketing to retain your clients once they roll over that money. So make sure you're out ahead of it. For June, we're going to talk about connecting with clients on LinkedIn and how to identify referrals, communications and services calendar, and then finally, summer beneficiary reviews. We'll start on that. Then in July, we're going to really talk about small summer workshops or events you can do and tying in with charities. And I will have a guest who's going to share some of the ways they're doing it. But the main thing is this is the time to stay in front of your clients and to be connected. And all the ideas that we're going to talk about, they don't cost a lot of money. I've already put the communications and services calendar. I put a really great template together for you. You could probably, a lot of the RIAs and advisors I work with and teams, they usually just take my template and use it and adjust it for their specific communications. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll have an advisor success story. So the first step is really pull back and say, am I really connected in a social media way with my clients? I'm a little more of a firm believer with LinkedIn. Some people do use Facebook. I know some of the teams and firms I work with don't allow that. So I always say start with Facebook. Make sure that where it's appropriate, you're connected with your clients, their spouses and children, and spouses or partner, and then their children, if it's appropriate. Again, thinking through, if you have clients that are in their 70s, the children could be in their 30s to 40s. And we know the numbers are somewhere around 80% to 85% of the children who could be in their 30s to 40s change advisors when they take over the finances. It's a similar number for when a spouse takes over the finances, if they haven't been integrated into the practice. So it's easy on LinkedIn to go ahead and look at your list, look at your clients, and start with your top clients if you want, and make sure you're connected with them on LinkedIn everywhere you possibly can. Next, what you can do with LinkedIn, which I really like, is once you're connected with your clients and they've accepted you, you can go in and look at their connections. So this is my LinkedIn. I have, my connections, so I circled it so you could see it. But you can click on those connections. You can see who they're connected to. And then you go up to the top tab there where the connections come up, and there's a filter. And you click on that filter, and up pops the screen to the right where it says select criteria. And you can put specific criterion for your client's connections. What this strategy is identifying who you want to be referred to. There may be 2 or 3 people. So if your clients if they're business owners and they have 600-700 connections, you can use the filter and identify, and up might pop just 5 clients that fit your criteria. It can be by alma mater, it can be by type of business, it may be certain interests. The whole idea here is you're proactively identifying who you might want to be referred to from your clients. And it's different than just asking, is there anyone else I should be talking to? Or do you have any friends or family I should talk to? Instead, I'll walk you through the process. And I feel like summertime is just the perfect time to do this, especially if you have an intern working with you, or it might be just a little bit slower in some areas. I know with this market, it's not necessarily slower, but the whole idea is being connected with your clients is critical in this market, and to make sure they know what you bring to the table. So with that, just the result will be a list of referral introductions. And then I do get this from RIA teams and advisors I work with. Maybe they don't want their connections to see their connections. They want to have privacy with their clients. So they let their clients know I'll be hiding my connections, or my connections will not be viewable by anyone else. And so I wanted to show you how to do this. It's not that complicated, but I know some people have a hard time finding this. So all you do is click on your profile, as you can see right here, click the settings, and then you'll see there, it says settings, settings and privacy right on your home page. You click on that and it'll come to this page, visibility. And then you just click on connections down at the bottom right, and you can turn your connections on or off. An easy way to connect with clients. And if you're concerned about privacy, here's how you make it so your connections aren't private. But just think about how important it's going to be as you communicate, as you maybe put out newsletters or market updates with your clients. Now you can even go in and just click certain criteria and pull them up and have a set communication. This works very nicely with the Redtail CRM. And so I wanted you just to know how to do this. Instead of saying you should do it, I like to show you the how to. So with that, you connect with your clients. There's the settings. And then once you're connected, so that step's done, and you may think you're connected, but this is a chance to go back and say, am I really connected to the clients I want to be connected to? Next, segment. Start with your top 20%. You want to make sure this is the best group to get referrals from. So I always put it out there. I work with many firms. I've trained and worked with thousands of advisors. And they'll be like, I need a cold call strategy. I need a strategy for this. This is the best strategy for referrals from your clients. And just think, let's say you have a practice of 120 families or households. If you took your top 20%, the 80-20 rule, and you got one referral from 15 of your top 30 clients every single year, how would that impact your business? I think the answer is very positive. That's what this strategy I just walked you through does. So let's go ahead and take a look. So I always say start with the 80-20 rule. About 80% of your revenues are generated from the top 20% of your clients. So focus on that group, or if there's other clients you have that you want to get a referral from, obviously add them to it. And this can be added easily to the Redtail CRM system. And then you can also keep a tracker, but think about the generations you've got. This is an easy way to see the different generations and maybe even identify a few specific. When we get into the workshops, I'll share this screen again in July, but I would like you to start thinking about it now. What could you do with that next generation to really stay communicating and connected with them?
So you're saying, as an advisor, turn your connections off so people cannot see and like lurk and stalk your connections, but prospect through other people's connections.
Exactly. Through your clients, you can look at, exactly, Nora. Through your clients, you can look at their connections. But if your clients are concerned, if you're concerned about sharing who your clients are, you can turn, have privacy on your connections. And I'd say about 30% of the advisors I work with like to have that feature on. So that's why I always share it. Some people don't even know it's there, but it makes everyone more comfortable connecting on LinkedIn then.
Yeah, I would want it turned on as an advisor and then also as a client. You would probably appreciate your advisor having that on as well, so that, you aren't getting connected or people aren't able to get to you through their connections.
Exactly. Or they see who your clients are.
Yes.
So it's a strategy to connect with your clients on LinkedIn and their families, but to keep your connections once you're connected with them private. But now you've got this network to start identifying referrals. So I think it works really well. It does work really well. I get very positive feedback from the advisors doing it. What do you think, Nora?
Yeah, I think it's interesting too with the spouses and children that you mentioned, just because I know advisors, you guys work so hard to make sure that you're servicing the head of household and that they're happy. But then if those transitions happen, you don't want, the bucket that you have filled to be constantly emptying on the corner with a hole in it, because all of those assets that you worked on could end up going based on their children's decisions or their spouse's decisions. And especially in a market like this, I think I read Vanguard did a study to see clients who panicked and sold out of their funds during the 2020 market crash only 86% of them were better, or only 14% of them were better off. 86% of them were worse off. So I think it's better to kind of work with the clients you have and their families and those connections. So that way it's like, okay, I know what to do in these situations. Trust me, and kind of establish that authority or precedence of like, let's not make harsh decisions. I'm your advisor, and your father's trusted me for many years, or your spouse has trusted me for many years.
Right. That's it exactly. And so this is a chart you can keep. It's just kind of a cheat sheet that works. You know, you can pull your information right off of the Redtail CRM. And I always say start with your top 20 or 30 clients and identify. It's just a snapshot of that, of who they are, the assets and future rollovers or assets that you want to make sure you're tracking. Like it's at a glance, their family, their goals, and if there's any prospects or referrals, either you've identified or you've already been introduced to. It just makes it easy to have that snapshot. And then some common interests, which we're not going to get into that with today's session. We're going to cover that in planning out some events and tying in with charity events that tie to your client's interests. The whole goal of summer strategies for client acquisition is that you're looking at going deeper in your relationship with your clients, bringing in their family. And to Nora's point, we know the numbers. So I was a speaker at the Edge, the RIA Edge, the big conference down in Fort Lauderdale a few weeks ago. And one of the guests on one of the panels shared that 70% of the women, when they take over the finances, so it's a high number, both it's higher for the next generation, but it's still at like 70%, the spouse or the partner takes over the finances, they change advisors. So this is a chance. It doesn't take long. You can have your intern even work with you on this. And it's a great opportunity to get connected. This whole process takes about a few hours. That's all. But think of how it impacts your business today and moving forward. So this is the top client background chart. You might create something different. We will send you the template, but it's a great snapshot and it helps you manage those top clients, that 20% that represent about 80% of your revenues, and to go deeper and to gain referrals and to have a system, not just wait for them to let you know. This is just what I call the communicating with the family, kind of doing your sales process. All of you have that in place. You have perhaps your financial planning tools you use. It's just thinking through, what do I need to do with these very best families of mine? And I do always share the story here of one of my neighbors. She was not involved in the financial planning process. Her husband just said everything's taken care of. When he passed away suddenly, she took over, didn't realize what they had. And the first thing she did is one of her friends who was also a widow said, you need to move right now to my advisor. She specializes in working with widows. So what do you think my neighbor did? She moved everything, including all the stock options. He had worked at, for Lucent, the company Lucent a long time ago. And so all of that got moved, millions that she didn't even know she had, to the new advisor. And I know we hear the stories, but I actually saw it happen and I couldn't believe how fast it happened. And she never looked back. So don't underestimate the power of communication. June is Effective Communication Month. I always put this together. Instead of telling you should list your services and you should list your communications, I try to make it as easy as possible. So I've worked on this with many teams that over the years. You may not do all of those reviews. I'm focusing in on the summer there in blue, as you can see, but put your plan together and communicate this with your clients. Let them know what you bring to the table. So this is a communications and services plan. Actually, many of you know who Michael Kitsis is. He was a speaker, and I have been doing this. It's in my book from 10 years or 8 years ago. I'm updating my book. My new book will be out this summer, but he emphasized, he had 5 slides on this in the RIA Edge conference that I was at. And I just found myself, I talked to him after, but you have to have communications and you have to communicate this with your clients and your services. Let them know, yes, the market's down. Yes, your portfolio might be down, but this is everything we're doing for that fee. It's more than just managing your money. So keep that in mind. I'm going to focus on July, August, and September, but we'll make this template available to you. It's a great tool to send to clients They ask if there's any additional services they want, and more importantly, to keep your team on task. Here are the things that are the most important to us. The other thing that's really beneficial with that calendar is with Redtail, you can systematize some of those communications. Like if you have a newsletter you've picked, or there's a communication, or you want to plan your 4 quarterly review meetings, whether they're virtual or in person ahead of time, you can do all that with the Redtail CRM. So as I said, these are strategies that plug right into the CRM system that you're using. And I think that's important. With that, do we have any questions or any thoughts on if this makes sense, or maybe you've thought about it and you're thinking, okay, this is the time to do it. This is the time to do it if you've been thinking about it. There's never been more at risk than in a market like today for people to start thinking about changing advisors. Anything we've got, Nora?
Yeah, I'm sure it's, people know that this needs to be addressed, but it's also like, oh no, this needs to be addressed. So I know that the ultimate suggestion here is just not to go radio silent, I guess, because with any good PR plan or public relations plan, you have to kind of put what you want them to think out there. So if you're putting nothing out there, they're like, well, my advisor is not even reaching out to me. Like,
Right.
is it really doom and gloom? So at least reaching out and saying some sort of general statement will definitely help. But nothing so
Yes.
far that has come to be discussed.
Okay. Well, let's keep going then. I know everyone's got a lot on their plates, but to what Nora just shared, don't be radio silent. One advisor I'm working with, he just called me. He decided to reach out. He's doing 10 to 15 clients a day. He's not hearing from them, so he decided just to do a proactive reach out. He decided not to just schedule meetings. He's just calling them and making sure everything's okay. He said, of like the 40 calls he's done so far, he said, everyone seems to be pretty calm. So now he's putting this plan into place. I'm doing the same program with them to help them systematize some of their summer programs. And he said, it just makes sense. He goes, I thought I did all this, but I realized when I went back, I wasn't connected to my clients, the ones I needed to be connected to. I haven't reached out to their children. And more importantly, I have not told them the services and communications I deliver. I'm doing all this, but I've never put it in writing. So put it in writing. People need to see it visually. So the first step, and this isn't anything that's rocket science, but I always like to give you a couple steps. Summertime is a great time to do like a beneficiary checkup or insurance reviews with your clients. You may not even be doing the insurance products with them, but what a great opportunity to make sure they've got the right insurance in place that they need. It's not necessarily a portfolio review. It's not. It's making sure the things around it are in place as they move forward. And it sets it up beautifully for the fall when you do any type of year-end tax planning. So here, include the spouse or the partner if you want when you're doing it. These can be virtual. They don't have to be in person either. Any prospects, you can offer this to any prospects that you've got as well. Just let them know in the summer what your practice does, and it's on your communication and services calendar, is you always like to do a beneficiary and insurance check, just in case anything has changed. You can send an agenda ahead of time. What I always suggest is time blocking a couple hours on set days to do these, rather than have them all random. And I know you have to adjust to your client's timeline, but the idea here is you can start to get into your zone and you're in a process and you get them done, do the follow-up, get them done, do the follow-up. You conduct the review, and then you can check to make sure even at that time that you're connected with everyone you need to on LinkedIn, or if you want, ask permission to connect to the children. Again, the children could be in their 30s, 40s, or 50s. It depends on the age of your clients. But this is an opportunity also, if you've done the LinkedIn process and you've got that chart, you maybe have identified 2 or 3 contacts that you want to be introduced to. This is a chance to ask for it. Is there a family member you think would benefit from this type of a review to make sure everything is in place for them? Or you could say, I noticed that you're connected to so-and-so, they have a small business. This might be a perfect time to check their insurance reviews. Again, you tailor it to your needs and to the type of client. This is a good process. And then follow up. And then you can even offer, I put an example together, an introduction email that you could send you send it to the client and they can forward it to that prospect. It means they don't have to do it.
Hmm.
Some of them may not want to, but here, I just put this together. Here's a way to ask for the referral. As I prepared for our meeting, I noticed on LinkedIn, you're connected to Mary Jones, and then you can read the rest. But the idea is you're sharing with your clients. Yes, I noticed on your LinkedIn, you're connected to this person. People check connections all the time. It's not unusual. And I think it tells them that you prepared for the meeting also. If you're not comfortable doing that, then don't do it. But I'm sharing with you strategies that have worked really well for advisors to grow their practice and gain new clients. And you have to decide what works best for you. And then here, yes, I'm happy to send you an introduction email. Make sure you use an agenda for the reviews. And this can be just put right into your, if you're using Calendly or if you're using Outlook, it can be put right into your invitation for the meeting so that they can just see what you're going to talk about. And if you want, include your services and communications calendar. This can even go for prospects. And again, it just says, I want to share with you, here's how we communicate with our clients. Here's what we do. And we do know right behind performance, one of the top reasons that clients stop working with an advisor is lack of communication. So don't assume your clients know, and this is a great opportunity to win new business in this kind of market and reinforce, here's how we communicate. This is what we bring to the table.
Exactly. And when you suggested maybe breaking out those phone calls to 2 different days, would you suggest doing like, A through M this day and N through Z that day, or do more like an age breakdown?
I don't think it matters. I think it's really starting with your very best clients and then getting that set up. And so with that, I would, the idea is that you're blocking it. And you can almost do 3 days, like from 9 to 1, something like that, or 9 to 12. See how that works. But now you're doing your invitations. And I would keep these reviews to no more than 30 minutes. That's plenty of time to check the beneficiaries and check insurance.
Have you ever seen an office kind of put a requirement to a beneficiary, like you have to get your beneficiary into a meeting with me in order for them to successfully be, so that way we can kind of make sure that they feel comfortable if they need to take over abruptly?
That's a great idea. Nora, that is a great idea. What you can do from this, let's say it's your clients, that's a great idea, is to then say, you know what, why don't we bring the beneficiary in just so they know that they're the beneficiary and what would be expected of them. Is that what you were thinking?
Yes.
I love that idea. What a great follow-up. And often those beneficiaries are the spouse or partner or the children.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, well, I need to service you, so you need to bring your beneficiary in, but then your beneficiary is establishing, a authority figure in the industry of, this person brought me in, they talked to me, I feel comfortable with them, they're knowledgeable, and they can kind of be exposed to your brand that way.
Exactly. So that would be another session. But if you're doing a virtual meeting, just like how Nora and I are, we're in 2 totally different locations. We're right here with all of you. You could invite that beneficiary right to that review meeting.
I love that.
Or do a follow-up. I do too. That's going to be a new best practice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, this is all about finding ways to connect to the children, because sometimes your clients might not want the children involved. But when it comes to a beneficiary review, I know that I have meetings with who our beneficiaries are to make sure they know everything that's going on. But I do that myself. I would love to have my advisor do that. So I think that's another best practice for this summer of connecting with the clients, connecting with the family, and getting to know them. What an easy way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Great. I did also just put a little sample, what your letter could say as you introduce yourself. Keep it simple, maybe attach a link to your webpage, or if you've got a bio page, or if you've got a brochure. But this is something you can send to your client and they can forward it on to the referral. This is where the biggest break happens when I work with advisors and they're trying to gain referrals. Okay, sure, I'll refer you. And then that person gets busy. Make it easy, just forward this email on and I'll take it from there. And now you're connected with that referral right up front in that email. So this is the step that often gets missed, and it's the connection pin between getting the referral and not getting the referral. So we'll send you this sample just so you can kind of see a way to do it. Not that you have to do it our way. I just like to make it easy. And then, of course, as you identify the referrals, you plug them into that chart, the top client background and referral chart. I also included, just to wrap up today, because I think we're doing more and more with virtual meetings and combining them with in-person, and it's the summertime, so people might be out of town. Tips for virtual meetings. I just put a few tips in here. Make sure your camera's at about eye level. As you can see, Nora and I are both at eye level. And check your lighting. You want to try and have your lighting in front, not necessarily in back. So it was funny earlier today, Nora and I had to adjust my lighting because it wasn't right. Wear a business attire. Even if your client's casual, at least be business casual when you're working with them. You represent their money. And I know some advisors wear t-shirts, or I've seen people in like sweatpants, but in my opinion, I think just a business casual or business professional is really important. You can blur your background or just have a plain white background behind you or something clean. Your firm may have a background, one of those drop-in backgrounds you can use. And then just test your computer and your microphone before you do your meetings. The laptops today have fabulous microphones on them, so you don't necessarily even need to have an add-on, but test all that ahead of time, test it with a few people you know, and then you'll be ready to go. Delivering, I'm just a firm believer, time block meetings, have those blocks on your calendar for prospecting or for client meetings, so you get in your zone. They're not all over your calendar. An agenda, I gave you a sample. Do an Outlook invite, or if you're using Calendly, that works too. And the thing with Calendly, or if you're using one of the scheduling formats, is as soon as they schedule, make sure that agenda pops back to them. So it's on both the calendars. And then we already talked about types of meetings. Client meetings for the summer, beneficiary and insurance reviews, understand who the beneficiaries are. And you can use, I saw it, I think it's a holistic plan. You can use that, and it, or your financial planning software, I'm sure it has an aggregator. So it just pulls everything together for the beneficiaries so you can review those. And then, wrap it up, let them know the next steps and who's going to do what when. This is especially important if you're trying to gain referrals. Let them know, you know what, when we're done this afternoon, I'll send an email that you can send on to that prospect. And if you don't mind, copy me on it, and it'll be an easy way for us to connect. They may want to talk to that prospect first, but you're making it easy for them to send that email then. And they get a great introduction of you. And I just put a couple pictures together so you could see. This was a Microsoft web page, and look at the difference of where that camera is located. Some people have it on their coffee table. It's looking up at their face. The background's all busy. So it just gives you an idea. I think the two in each corner with the bookcase and the blurred background are probably the most professional. When I'm doing certain programs, when I first got started, I did a lot of the front lighting. I have the ring lights, or I now have a clip-on that works really well on my computer. But I showed you an example of side lighting. And then Nora and I were testing backlighting today, and I was completely dark with backlighting. I'm traveling, I'm with clients yesterday and today, so I'm traveling. But the whole idea is I want to give you some ideas on how you can stand out from your competition, from the other advisors out there, especially with prospects, and how you can really leverage and have a great client beneficiary review, conversations, and meeting that next generation. So that were our first steps today for summer client acquisition strategies. We're going to cover summer events with our next session, and a couple great ideas that are very cost effective, but really connected to clients and where they can bring a friend. And I'm going to do a combination of a couple ideas around social events, tying in with a charity, and also an education that you can do virtually. And I'll share with you what I think is one of the best virtual events I've heard of that did not cost this whole advisory team any money, but they had so much fun with their clients that they stayed connected to over the summer. They're from Florida. A lot of their clients go up north. And I'm going to leave you hanging on that. And I'm going to share it with you in July, because I think it's something that can be duplicated over and over, and their clients loved it. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Nora.
Yes, thank you so much, Maureen. That was wonderful. I know that we did talk about a lot today, and we kind of mentioned how we want to make everything really applicable. So, just in some of the items that were mentioned today, we'll kind of run through a few of the Redtail tools that could be applicable for those things. The first thing that jumped out to me was the generations. You mentioned that there's you can break everyone out to different age groups and then kind of make assumptions based on that. And there might be a tool inside of Redtail that you might find helpful visually. If you are on your Today page, there will be a tab here that says Contacts. This Contacts tab, you've probably never clicked on it, but this pops up. This is going to show you visual pie charts. These are not manipulatable. So what I mean is you can't, say change this or add this, take that out and adjust it based on that. It comes as is. But here are some just basic demographics you'll find, but at the very bottom, kind of a visual of what you talked about of those age groups. So this might at least help you see visually, okay, 40 to 59-year-olds, you guys are really hitting like almost 100 on my chart. So we're going to focus on those, or we're going to do some research on those. So this might be helpful. I went to the Today page and I clicked on the Contacts tab to get here.
Nora, I love that chart. I always learn something new about Redtail every time I do this, but what a great snapshot.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of like you don't know what you don't know. So these sessions do really help. Next thing that was mentioned was the issue with spouses and widows. I've heard that statistic before where as soon as a spouse passes away, that person is gone. They're asking their son or daughter, do you know someone? They're asking their neighbor, do you know someone? And they're taking their money as soon as they get the call back. So to address that, what we've seen done strategically is to at least be addressing them in correspondences. We've worked with a lot of offices that are just keeping it strictly, Mr. Head of Household or Mrs. Head of Household, but that doesn't really include that other spouse. So what we've seen done as a best practice is to make sure that they are at least included in that family name. So let me click. I want to say Rebecca Allen should have a spouse, but yep. Okay, so perfect. She has a spouse here. You'll notice it is Mr. and Mrs. Allen. That's exactly what we're suggesting. At the very least, make sure that it is addressed to both people. So that way when you send a holiday correspondence, you send something to this family, they're seeing both of their names on it. So to get here, you want to go to a contact record. You want to click on that link that says Mr. and Mrs. or some sort of family structure. And then if you click on that action icon, you can choose edit. And what you want to put here is whatever you would want to say on the label on the envelope. So if you were going to send a correspondence to this family, what do you want it to say? Do you want it to say the Allens? Do you want it to say Mr. and Mrs. Allens? Do you want it to say the Allen family? Whatever you would want it to say, you could type it in here directly. Capitalization and punctuation does apply. So if there's hyphenated names, anything specific to this family, just make sure it is listed there and it will carry over when you're sending your correspondences.
Can I share one idea there, Nora?
Yes.
I just saw on LinkedIn, one of the large RIA aggregator firms, they must have hired 30 or 40 interns for this summer. This would be a great way if you brought an intern or even someone in part-time just to help you get all this done for your practice.
Yes, that is a great suggestion. So is it a link that they go to, or?
The interns come in and work with the RIA team, and they can work on your system and do all the updates and all the changes. And as they identify family members, do all the input, all the time consuming. It's not time consuming, but the data so that the advisors are in front of the clients.
Yes. And you guys will have to task them, right? You will have to spend some front end work explaining things or showing things, but that value of them doing it, do it. You know, you're going to be so happy once you get everyone in there making all these changes for you. Your database will look completely different. So that's a great suggestion. Also, I know it was mentioned with insurance and kind of making sure that you know who is, subscribe to you with their insurance services, who is not. Redtail can kind of help with that as well. What we suggest to do is create keywords for your products and your services. So that way, if somebody has a positive relationship for your product or your service, you could attach that keyword to their name. So, if someone is an insurance client, you create that as a keyword and attach it to their name. Well, what's helpful with that is later you can pull me up everyone that is an insurance client, right? I can do an advanced search that says, pull me up every contact keyword that has the keyword equal to insurance, and that will pull up that group. And mine are dashed out here in the beginning. That will pull up that group. But what I want to show you is the inverse, because maybe you want to prospect people that aren't using you for insurance yet. You could just change that operand from equal to not equal to. And that's going to pull the inverse up. So it's going to pull up contacts that do not have a keyword that says life insurance. So this might be a good group for you to then prospect if you narrow it down a little bit further to maybe active clients. It could be a good prospect list for another service.
I like that. That's a great tool. That's a great cross-sell tool.
And the last thing I wanted to mention, and this isn't going to be nearly as fancy or nice as that beautiful sheet that you had up that we are going to share, but it is pre-built in here for you to at least work from. It's underneath reports, and it's called Top End Report. It's toward the bottom. This Top End Report, the contacts by AUM is the most frequently used one, but this is going to take contacts in your system and order them for you by their AUM for this one.
Oh, excellent.
So it's not in any way visual, and I can't tell who Sally Bloom is as a person like you were able to tell through that Excel sheet, but this is a way to be like, okay, I'm going to take these 10 and put them in that Excel sheet.
This is a great way to get that information. Absolutely. And again, it's so if you're on a large team, that chart works well. Everyone gets to know who the top clients are and what information's missing. So this is a great supporter to help populate that.
Yes, exactly. At least just a value add for your team to see, but nonetheless, to take it further with that next step. So those are the things that kind of, as we went along, I saw as being useful tools to directly implement into the system. There definitely is no wrong button to press or no wrong way to do it. So you definitely just want to start somewhere and start reaching out. We even have a report in here called No Contact you might find helpful as almost like a smile and dial report, since you're finding a lot of advisors are finding success of just putting time aside and calling people. If you click on reports on the left, this one is a contact report and it's called No Contact. So when I click filter in the top right, there are going to be a ton of filters here to choose from. And this is for you to get as fancy as you want. But at the very least, what this report is showing you contacts you haven't had communication with in X amount of days. So those X amount of days are right here. It's showing 30, but you might change this to 365 to show, contacts that are in compliance risk. And you might even isolate it to just active clients so that, you're working in a more digestible chunk. And this could, give you a report of contacts that you haven't had communication with their phone numbers, so that way you can call them, add in that note, get them off of this list.
Perfect.
All right. But otherwise, everyone, thank you so much for your time today. Maureen, thank you so much for joining us.
Sounds good. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for joining us today for this particular session. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 800-206-5030, option 3 for support, or just shoot us an email over to support@redtailedtechnology.com. Thanks a lot and have a great day.